On this episode of UA Plus, a success story after the spotlight fades, the harsh reality of a higher education, a look at some eye-opening technologies, a new perspective on disabilities, and art in its many forms. Welcome to UA Plus. I'm Kimberly Colliner. Concussions caused by playing football are getting more attention. In fact, concussion issues are what caused former U of A linebacker Rob Hankins to retire. But even though his playing days are over, he still attributes his success and character to what he learned out on the field.
First thing about football is that for the longest time, head injuries and concussions have always just kind of been considered a part of the sport.
According to the National Football League, 1 in 3 football players suffer from brain trauma.
It got to a point where I just noticed that I wasn't myself anymore.
Rob Hankins started playing football when he was 10.
I absolutely fell in love with it, and as soon as I had my first season, I started playing 3 seasons a year. So by the time I got to college, I'd already played like 17 seasons of football, and I wish I could play more than that.
He played linebacker for the UA back in 2011.
My first game, I found out 3 or 4 days beforehand that I was going to be starting as an 18-year-old. And keep in mind, a couple months before that, I was just in high school. All of a sudden, I'm on national television in front of 60,000 people. I definitely felt like I was on top of the world then.
Since the start of his football career, Rob accumulated an estimated 12 concussions, which inevitably started to take a toll.
It would feel like my eyes got crossed, but they would stay that way.
At 19 years old, he got his last blow to the head.
After that last concussion, I would not know what day it was, what part of the day I was in.
This particular one took nearly 5 months to heal, and that put his health into perspective.
If I get hit in the head one more time, is it 4 or 5 months, or is it like a couple years where I'm just kind of out of it?
Following advice from his medical staff, Rob decided to leave football behind back in September of 2012.
Being a football player has been our entire identity as a person since we were 10 years old, and then all of a sudden, you're not a football player anymore. What are you? What do? You don't, your day doesn't even have structure anymore.
He didn't stay down for long, however, as he found a new avenue in the world of fitness. He used the strength and discipline learned in the sport of football to transition into a new career.
To go from practicing twice a day, working out twice a day, my background in football, definitely pretty knowledgeable about the world of fitness.
For the last year, he's been lifting 6 times a week doing high interval training. The world of fitness has become his passion. And now 22-year-old Rob is a sponsored athlete and fitness model for the Sports and Lifestyle Unlimited agency in Los Angeles. And back on the spotlight once again.
It may not be national television, but attention does feel good.
He trains here in Tucson while he finishes school and hopes to pursue this as a full-time career once he graduates come spring 2016. But regardless of his career path, football will always have a presence in his life.
I attribute all the things that I am successful at to football, and I'm very proud that that comes out in me and will come out in me for the rest of my life.
My name is Daniel Geffrey.
My name is Michael Miller.
My name is Aaron Panopia.
My name is James Skinner.
My name is Jordan Smith.
I'm majoring in English.
I'm a neuroscience graduate student.
I'm a dual major in pre-business and mathematics.
I am a pre-business major.
I'm a freshman majoring in pre-business.
I have about $5,000.
$56,000.
$20,000.
$3,000.
$42,000.
In student
student loan debt.
As college tuition in Arizona keeps rising, debt from student loans isn't pumping its brakes anytime soon. With years and years of debt to consider, the value of a higher education isn't as black and white as it once was.
Where did you go to college? Is it a public school? Is it a private school? Did you take advantage of a community college first? Where you go to school and what you end up doing when you come out is instrumental in determining your ability, 1, to repay the loan, and 2, was it worth what you actually paid?
Bankruptcy attorney Matthew Foley has been settling debt for the last decade and estimates about 70% of his clients battle directly with student loans.
In the last 5 years,
Humanities and art majors know the low wages that these careers can bring, making paying back their loans a challenge.
I've already started paying some student loans, and it'll take me about 8 to 10 years to pay them back.
For music student Patricia Bradley, the high cost of tuition made her dream of getting through college without loans impossible. This May, she will graduate with the national average of $25,000 in student loans.
My sophomore year, tuition was raised a little bit, so I had to take out my first subsidized loan. And then junior year, tuition went up even more, and I had to take out both a subsidized and unsubsidized loan.
Patricia's paying interest on her unsubsidized loan now while she goes to school, and will have to start paying interest on her subsidized one come graduation. To pay her bills and avoid increasing her debt even more, she's had to pick up 2 jobs in the library.
If I didn't have this job, I would definitely need to take out loans or figure out some way to strike it rich because I honestly wouldn't be able to support myself through college. And sometimes I've been incredibly stretched thin because I just felt like I was stuck in between each paycheck and I would spend everything on bills, and I haven't had much to spend on myself.
The U.S. currently owes $1.3 trillion in student loan debt, and every second, another $3,000 piles on.
Federal student loans are dangerous because it's not driven off of your capacity to repay the loan.
I think that it's too easy to get bad loans from private companies because I've had bad experiences taking out loans that I've had to cancel immediately. And even in the 12 days that I've taken out a loan, the interest rate had already shot up and I owed so much more money just for a loan that I had for less than a month.
And students know little about the loans that they take year after year.
I had almost no information about student loans prior to me taking them out.
I know it's about 7% interest rate, and then I start paying it back after I graduate. And I have, I think it's 5 to 6 years after I graduate, I can pay it off, around there. It might be a little longer.
For the 2/3 of college graduates that incur debt, their starting salary may not fit the bill.
In the criminal justice field, it is very low. It's about $25,000 to $30,000.
According to the AP, 53% of recent college graduates are unemployed or underemployed.
I'm of the opinion that college is tough. You're making tremendous sacrifices to pass up the opportunity to make a living or taking a full-time job. And at the same time you're passing up the opportunity to make money, you're actually incurring debt.
one way of thinking about this.
But even with these sacrifices, students see the worth in a higher education.
In the long run, you really can't put a price on education.
I think that the best investment is in yourself.
To the extent that higher education allows you to better yourself and you're a better person for it, it is priceless. However, it's hard to say it's priceless when you can't keep your lights on, when you can't put food on the table, because the priceless education comes with a hefty tuition bill every month.
Even with large amounts of loans, some students are still struggling to put food on their plates. Up next, producer Tassandra Salmon shows us what it's like to live on a college budget and what programs are out there to help.
The poor college student stereotype talks about students who live off inexpensive food, such as ramen noodles, due to the high cost of college. Many students have to hold jobs while also attending classes, and sometimes being a poor college student becomes more of a problem than just a stereotype.
Students that are encountering serious problems while they're a college student, those are the ones that we were really concerned about, and those are the ones that are living below the poverty line and actually living on that without any help from their families or friends or so on. In 2013, about 46% of all college students in the state of Arizona were living below the poverty line, which means as an individual they were earning less than about $12,000.
For many of these students, a common way to fund both college and living expenses is to take out loans. But this introduces a new issue.
And that's what's really different from this generation of college students than it was from my generation or even my parents' generation, was student debt. Students are entering into the workforce and embarking on their professional careers with more debt than anyone else has ever before.
For students struggling to make ends meet or trying to keep up with their rising debt, finding access to food can become a burden.
You know, buying books and paying for classes, and you know, if you're living on the dorms or you have a house, I mean, the bills go skyrocket, and so sometimes students, I think, feel in jeopardy if they have to put food aside in order to be able to pay for the other things like their quality education and where they're living.
Marielle Welk is a U of A student and a member of the Campus Pantry, an organization that provides food to students and staff.
We have, you know, places that they can get groceries, but they're very expensive here on campus, so that's really hard to afford.
All you need is a CAT card, and twice a month, the Campus Pantry opens its doors to offer free food security and hope to those who come through.
Just to see their eyes light up and pop open that they're, you know, so like, wait, this is free for us? Like, this is like, you know, this is real, and it is working hand on hand with people and seeing the needs right in front of your face, you know, so I think that's like really important, and just kind of knowing that you're making a difference in someone's lives. They're coming in and you're helping support them, you know, in college, and have one less worry, I guess, in the day. Just kind of feels really good.
Coming up, an app that can perform eye exams and some art that comes to life. There's all sorts of discoveries to be made on campus.
There's different types of people who exist here, who work here, who come here every single day.
Everyone's moving so quickly, we don't get a chance to get to know what's happening on campus.
People need to know what's going on around them.
And that's why UA Plus is here. We're a group of students showcasing the people of the U of A.
The goal of it is to capture the essence of the university and really deliver the stories that people wouldn't otherwise hear about or see.
It gets people like us students to be a part of the community.
I really love being a part of UA Plus because everybody is a team.
We have so much to learn from the very people that sit next to us.
That brings us together closer as a community.
For many of us, a trip to the eye doctor only comes around when we either need a prescription or notice another vision problem. However, often at that point, the damage has already been done. The University of Arizona's Dr. Wolfgang Fink shows us a new iPhone app that makes it both convenient and affordable to keep track of our eyes with a snap of a picture.
Probably 30 or 40 years, and he speaks 7 languages. In January of 2012, I woke up and everything seemed so dim. And I kept saying to my daughter, can you turn on the light? Can you open the blinds? And she's like, they are open. But to me, everything was still dim. I cut my own hair. So I called my doctor because I was like kind of freaking out. It's been 2 years later and I'm lost sight in one of my eyes completely. The left eye, I have myopic vision, and you have to be about this length for me to be able to describe you. Anything past that, I can see colors, but I wouldn't be able to describe you, say, in a crowd or in a classroom. And so the diabetic retinopathy, it just means that I have little pinholes in my eye and I can't see everything clearly.
Demaris started off having diabetes, which in the last 2 years progressed into her eyes.
By far the more common type of patient is a patient with diabetes or a diagnosis of diabetes that has absolutely no symptoms but might have some signs.
And because her high blood pressure didn't affect her vision at first, her disease went undetected.
People only go to the eye doctor if something is wrong with their vision. Often, at that point, certain things have already gone bad beyond recovery.
With eye diseases like these, scar tissue forms inside of the eye without as much as a warning.
The retina itself does not have any pain fibers. For example, if somebody has a tumor, in the eye. They can have no idea that it's there until it's too late.
For example, glaucoma, macular degeneration, diabetic retinopathy. Those are 3 major diseases which can actually cause blindness if detected too late or not treated early enough. Many people do not necessarily pay too much attention to their eyes, yet vision is the primary sense for all of us.
And Demaris believes her daughter, along with this generation, isn't taking the necessary precautions.
My daughter, I was diligent. Like when she was a kid, her shots, like I literally was on top of that stuff. And now she's 18 and she's taking it for granted. And that's when things go awry.
To minimize the hassle, Dr. Fink has developed affordable retinal exams that can be accessed online and even on your phone.
We set out to develop miniaturized versions of existing ophthalmic examination devices so that we can test them and apply them in the field. We basically would place this device on the person and would then focus and then take an image. So here we would have the image, for example, of the back of the eye. As a next step, and that's where the intelligent part comes in, we would be able to send this image off to an expert system, and then a few seconds later, we'll send back the processed results like this. So in this case, it would have processed all the veins and arteries of this fundus, which is the background of the eye. A mobile device is both inexpensive and mobile, so you can actually have many, many more of them in the hands of people who are trained to use them. Industrialized countries for checkups and bedside checking for patients in hospitals, all the way to third world countries or disaster-stricken areas. And so you can bring quality healthcare to people who cannot afford it or where, because of physical location, you cannot easily get to. We will predominantly be focusing on the back of the eye to detect early on whether a patient is a candidate for developing glaucoma or how far along they are. And we will also be able to detect the early onset of macular degeneration and, for example, diabetic retinopathy.
Dr. Fink's app, expected to be released sometime in 2016, will prevent diseases like Demaris's from ever happening.
I'm feeling a lot better than what I did, say, 6 years ago, but I'm still on top of it. Like, oh, let's call a doctor. Is it time for me to come in and see you? Well, let's make that appointment. And I get my planner and I write it in. I've been through hell and back, but I'm making it, so.
Accessibility is not a privilege, but a right. The Disability Resource Center here at the U of A is making that known. For our next piece, producer Cassandra Salmon talks to 2 DRC students about the culture surrounding disabilities here on campus.
It's really the only sport that exists that is tailored to quadriplegics and other people that have physical impairments in their upper body as well as their lower body. So it's a league where we can really excel.
Nate Miller is an architecture major and a full-time student athlete in wheelchair rugby.
From the minute I saw those guys out there, I was enthralled and wanted to play. I got in the chair and was immediately hooked.
Arizona Adaptive Athletics is one of the most competitive and successful programs in the country. Quad rugby is one of the many exceptional adaptive sports offered at the U of A.
It's a highly intense game, fast-paced. It's extremely competitive, great exercise, meet a lot of exceptional athletes and make a lot of friends. When I was going to school in Milwaukee, most people were not really exposed to disability much or people with disabilities, and so you get a lot of looks and funny faces.
The Adaptive Athletics Department stems from the minds of those who work closely with the Disability Resource Center, or DRC.
It's really an environment where we don't experience that wow, look at them, because people are exposed much more often than most places, I would say. So that really helps.
The DRC is responsible for a variety of programs, accommodations, and resources to aid faculty and students on campus.
When non-disabled students come to campus, they show up. They enroll in their class, they go to class, they show up, they take their test, they live in the residence halls, and it's a very traditional experience. We try to parallel that experience to make that experience for disabled students very similar.
These accommodations range from physical to technological. The DRC even has its own gym with completely accessible equipment. Upstairs, you can find new technology designed to fit a wide variety of needs. And their work can be seen all over campus as well.
We've consulted on Old Main, the rec center, some of the new academic buildings that are in their final stages at this point.
For Amanda and others working at the DRC, providing these services goes beyond just the basic need.
Because access, we like to think of it as it's a right. It's not a privilege. And often with disability, access tends to be framed as something that you're lucky to have.
Complete strangers have patted my head, kissed my cheek, called me courageous.
I think for a lot of people it's been an experience to learn more about ourselves and our community. There's a lot of discussion and awareness about other social justice movements maybe, but not as much about disability social justice. It feels like it's something that is very on the forefront of the minds of the people in the community, but not necessarily outside the community. And this could be a way to bring it, into the light.
Isabel Kishi is a graduate student and a member of the Disabilities Justice Project, a group dedicated to bringing social justice and understanding about disabilities to the U of A.
So being able to support each other and pick up on the fact that someone's uncomfortable, be like, no, you get a say in how this goes, and being able to advocate for each other and support the whole community.
Once a week, the members of this group meet to learn about and discuss issues that have gone unseen by many people and often can cause more harm than some realize.
Inspiration porn, which is kind of an inflammatory term on purpose. So the idea being that when people will use an example of something that someone with a disability is doing that's in fact an everyday thing and say, oh, look at how amazing it is that they're driving a car or getting out of bed, or they're an inspiration, they're something that we should really strive to be. And it's like, we're people, we have bad days, we have good days.
These students are determined to change the conversation about disabilities, hoping that their voice will change the way we view disabilities in the media, culture, and in our communities.
Making people aware that you might see something and that might be what sticks out in your mind about them, but it's just an element of who they are, just like race or sexual orientation or gender or any of those things is just a piece of who everyone is. This is just another piece.
Everybody that is familiar with this facility, everybody here is experienced with various disabilities. It creates this environment where we're really free to focus on other things, and it's really empowering.
Art comes in many forms for dance professor Doug Nielsen. Earlier this school year, the Center for Creative Photography displayed his personal collection of prints. It features pieces that express his love for the different styles of art.
What made me love dance? That's the hardest question in the world. If I could answer that, then everybody would love dance. My name is Doug Nielsen. I'm a professor at the School of Dance, and my specialty is modern dance. I got in a VW van and drove to San Francisco in 1970. And I took a dance class. It was unexplainable. I didn't have much experience in it, but I had to really cram and learn fast. I don't know, the bug bit me. I just thought this is really an art form. I've been collecting art since I moved to New York in 1973. I think there's definitely a correlation between dance and art, visual art. So I think all artists are trying to express something they can't put in words. They say every photographer is just making self-portraits. Center for Creative Photography is world-renowned. And sometimes I get the feeling that it's more famous out there than it is actually here on campus. The objective for doing this in the first place is to share it with my students and to share it with the students of the campus, because I feel like they're the next generation. It's my obligation to share and teach them something. You know, most people go to an exhibit once and they say they saw it. But I think most exhibits, and this included, I think the more you come, the more you see. I always thought that that captured moment was so beautiful, and at the same time, it wasn't something that I embraced on stage. For me, a photograph is a frozen moment, and a dance is a live moment, so there's a difference there. Performing is in the second. You know, it's the 1 second you see it and then it's gone. And these photographs will be hanging here tomorrow morning when I wake up. I mean, they're going to stay here. Where when you come into a dance studio, if it's empty, there's no proof anything ever happened there. It's always been my theory that you only borrow things in life, you never really own them. I didn't go after them so much as I found them and they found me. You know, I find things almost accidentally. I always think the most important things in your life happen accidentally, because you can control your life to a certain extent, but at some point, it's the surprises that you remember. It's the surprises that really define your life.
That's all for this episode of UA Plus. I'm Kimberly Colliner. Thanks for watching.